Alright, Evie and I are back with another Destiny 2 video, and some actual pretty big news on a random post-reset Wednesday here. Late yesterday, Bungie announced a handful of changes. Far and away the biggest of these is the fact that they are now making all non-raid, non-artifact mods free for all players. And if you've been playing the game for a while, you may know that the current system has been pretty absurd for a very long time now in terms of how new players are supposed to get mods. They just gave, it used to be Banshee, now it's Ada1. They would give her a rotating selection of mods that were apparently just randomized. This includes a bunch of hugely valuable combat mods, which are part of Charge with Light, Warmind Cell, or Elemental Well builds, and you would just sort of have to sit around and wait for the right mod to come up. If you were playing during the season those mods were introduced, usually they would drop randomly, or you would get them as you upgraded the vendor or something like that, and they were pretty easy to come by. But if you missed that season, you had to rely on this model where it was I think at one point there were some mods, important mods, that had not been sold for 8 months just because of how the rotation worked. Previously, they changed it so she sold, I think, twice as many mods as she did before, but it's still a very stupid system, and me, along with most people, have been calling for them to just let everybody use all of the mods. Don't see why this has to be something that's gatekept. Now, that is exactly what they're doing. As of today, you will be able to access all the mods in Destiny 2 history, short of the very specialized raid ones, which are not that good anyway for the most part. And that is going to really open up a lot of builds for people that haven't been able to access them before. I think we also, at this rate, kind of need a mod tutorial, because just giving people access to these won't necessarily kind of clue them into how they work. I don't think there's anything actually in the game explaining the mod system in any real meaningful capacity, and certainly not combat mods and all their interactions. So, but what's interesting about this is the wording of this tweet. As a preview of things to come in Lightfall, we have some exciting updates coming soon. Tomorrow, all standard armor mods are unlocked for everyone. The big change is coming to build crafting in Lightfall. We want to give everyone a chance to enjoy all mods in their current state. I don't quite know what in their current state is supposed to mean there. We know that there are big kind of armor mod changes coming in Lightfall, but we don't know the exact nature of those. Previously, they said they were going to do some sort of combat mod overhaul during that season, where, right now the current situation is Elemental Well builds have been buffed and added to enough where they're by far the strongest option. Charge with Light still has some really key mods within it, but no one really does a full-on Charge with Light build anymore for the most part. But mods that give you just free mobility or higher energy fire or things like that are still very useful. Warmind Cell mods are really got nerfed, and they're not very good anymore because there are not enough ways to spawn Warmind Cells. And so I'm wondering if that is going to be something that is buffed and overhauled, or if they're introducing a new slate of combat mods and phasing out some of the old ones. We don't know what's getting buffed or nerfed or whatever, but this implies to me that, some of the current setups, the current strongest builds may not be accessible in the future, and this entire system may be kind of getting reworked into something else. This may have to do with the upcoming edition of loadouts, where they've said previously they want you to arrange your entire build essentially on one page, where you will pick all your mods for your armor, your weapons, your gear. They want everything to kind of be just in this one space, where you're not going into, essentially 13 different menus to gear up mods for every single situation. And I hope that's where we're headed here. In terms of other things that I'm hoping to see change with the armor system, this is tough because he gets into power creep territory, but I just don't think we can use enough mods. And I don't even think the mods I want to be using that I'm not using are especially strong. It's just that, I'm essentially never using something like reserves mods because I always want resist mods on, and those are in the same spot. Or every season, my entire class item is essentially just one of the crazy high cost specialized mods, and I have room for barely anything else. Or arms mods are this season, with the limited unstoppable options we have. I've had unstoppable grenade launcher and like anti-barrier bow, and whoops, there goes 8 out of 10 energy. Like it's a little much, and I feel like we're not really allowed all that much experimentation given how mandatory some of the mods feel. So I don't know if they're going to move away from the energy cost system altogether and just have like one dedicated slot for each type of mod. We don't really know the details of that, and that might be something that they're going to lay out in the coming weeks here. But that is one thing I would like to see change. Another thing that everybody brings up is elemental armor affinity. This has been rendered less and less and less useful over time. First, they made it so you could change it. You could pay a pretty high cost to change it, but you could change it. Second, they made that cost very low. Now it's barely anything. It's like 10,000 glimmer in an upgrade module, or I forget what it is for exotics, like 20,000 glimmer. But you could just change it on the fly if you really want access to, whatever slate of energy-specific mods they have. The problem with that Bungie has said previously is that this kind of creates mod overload, where there's just like too many mod options if you dump all the elements in there. So I feel like this could be solved by part of their upcoming UI overhaul, where if we're doing, all the chess mods on one page, like if this whole system is set up to have kind of one page to assign everything, maybe that won't really be a problem anymore. And it just doesn't seem like elemental affinity is something anyone wants or needs, and it doesn't need to exist given how cheap it is to change now. It's just very convoluted and unnecessary. So we'll see what happens with that. So we don't really know anything else besides kind of the hints they've given us. There's a TWAB tomorrow where I don't think this is going to dive into this yet. I think that'll be a future TWAB or a future article. They did talk about 2 more things in the same thread where they talked about focusing costs. So starting next week, focusing costs for all trials, Iron Banner, Crucible, and Gambit weapons and armor will be reduced to 25 legendary shards. Adapt weapon focus costs will be reduced to 50. So that's down from like Iron Banner was 100, and I think the playlist guys are 50. I don't know. But 100 shards for a single focus has been ludicrous. And like, so Iron Banner focusing, at 100 per going down to 25, that's a pretty significant change and something that is a lot more appealing now. I think they were looking at how the legendary shard economy was shaping up in the wake of getting rid of planetary materials and the ability to buy glimmer with them, and now they kind of put a legendary shard cost on a few other things, and it seems that they are draining too many of our shards with focusing to kind of an absurd degree. So that is changing ahead of next season as of next week. And then the final thing they talk about, sadly, is not blues, but Grandmaster Nightfalls. In our next update, the Grandmaster power cap and structure will become more approachable for all players while remaining some of our most challenging content. More details coming in this week's TWAB. No specifics there, and that will be answered tomorrow, but I have to believe this is just they got to be getting rid of the minimum power thing, right? I mean, I just don't really get why they would need to keep that in place. I think the idea was so just random people aren't trying to LFG into Grandmasters and be carried when they're way under power, even if it is contest. But I think that's done a lot more harm than good, because I'm someone who plays a good amount, and unless you were hardcore doing the pinnacle grind and getting pretty lucky in the pinnacle grind and bounty hoarding for artifact power, getting to that GM level by the time GMs launch is not the easiest thing, and it's just very annoying. It's just a very annoying process that I don't think anybody, even endgame content players, are enjoying. So my guess is that they are just switching to GMs are just going to be available at contest, and there will not be a power requirement. I don't know if there's more nuance in there, in order to run GMs, you need to have completed a Master Nightfall or something, something to gatekeep a little bit, so it's not just, ultra low power, low skill people just trying to coast through LFGs or something. I don't know. There might be some sort of gatekeeping mechanism in place, which is okay for the highest tier content in the game, but I don't think that arbitrary power number that would reset every season. So you'd be running GMs and the new season would start and be nope, you're not qualified to run GMs anymore. Go grind again. I don't think anybody liked that. So that is going to be something that is changing tomorrow, and we'll see exactly how. But my guess is that power requirement will be removed, and it'll just be straight contests, and then probably some sort of additional mechanism there. A lot of major systems will be changing with Lightfall. I am very curious to see how exactly that goes down, and especially in regard to build crafting and armor mods and all that stuff. I don't know if this is like Armor 3.0 or 4.0 or whatever we're up to now, but it seems like they are moving in good directions with this. This unlock all the mods thing probably could have been done like 2 years ago. I don't really understand why it has taken this long to do. My only theory is that they thought this created some sort of like, oh, look at our daily engagement, because everyone, people are logging in once a day to see what the mods are and then leaving. But I don't know if that was the actual reason, but that's like the only thing I can even think of that makes a remote amount of sense as opposed to just unlocking these for everyone. I highly suggest if you're 10 minutes into a dedicated Destiny content video, you're probably not the target audience for this, but once you have access to all these mods, I don't have any like super good mod guides up, but there are tons across the creator community about, I would just start with an elemental well build and go from there. Those are pretty straightforward. It's things that will help your teammates because you spawn wells for them too, and it will make you a lot stronger very easily, and that is easily one of the best things to run right now. So look up some videos of that. I'm sure there's dozens and dozens of people who have kind of explained that system better than I can here. Maybe I'll do like a walkthrough of it, but I also don't know. Like things are going to be changing so much in like 4 weeks here that I don't even know if there's much point in like doing some sort of grand mod guide if it's all about to change anyway. So, and it all might become outdated information. So anyway, thank you for watching. We will see what other developments happen in the TWAB tomorrow. I have family in town, but I will still try to squeeze out a TWAB video anyway, because it seems like it should be fairly important. But all right, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.